Welcome to Experiments in Leadership, practical insights for Caribbean business leaders. Hi, and welcome to our very first episode of Experiments in Leadership, and also the very first episode in our Cyber Resilience series for business leaders. We are indeed humbled that you have chosen to spend some time with us as we offer Caribbean business leaders practical insights for today's challenges. I'm your host, Anthony Subero, and let's jump in. Today's topic is cybersecurity versus cyber resilience. One keeps the bad guys out, and the other keeps your business alive when they unfortunately get in. Now, based on our experience, some business leaders use these terms interchangeably, but they're not the same. And confusing them can possibly lead to underfunded cyber strategies or controls, slow decision making, but more importantly, a false confidence that the organization is effectively protected and your services can be quickly restored if successfully breached. Now, let's break this down just a bit. Cybersecurity equals protection, and this protection comes with proactive controls and reactive controls. Proactive controls will be controls that prevent intrusions and or block unauthorized access. Reactive controls, however, can detect suspicious activities and or stop attacks before they can cause extensive damage. But if I were to bring it in a simple context, cybersecurity wants to stop incidents from happening or at least reduces the possibility of happening. While essential for any business, cybersecurity is not enough, and this is where cyber resilience comes in. You see, cyber resilience equals continuity and recovery. And I want to repeat this. Cyber resilience equals continuity and recovery. You see, cyber resilience goes beyond cybersecurity as it addresses the following questions that can impact your organization. If something breaks, can we keep operating? If something were compromised, can we contain it quickly and offer our services at a reduced level? If our critical systems go down, how fast can we recover securely? And if customers are impacted, can we communicate with clarity and control? Cyber resilience, just like your business resilience, understands that incidents will happen and focuses on restoring your business services quickly and securely as planned. Now, having said this, why should this difference matter to us as business leaders? And I would like to address this from a tools or technology standpoint, because many business leaders believe that cyber resilience, cybersecurity is really IT centric and relates to specific tools, but it's a lot more than that. And let me expand a bit. In many organizations, we have strong tools, strong firewalls. We talk about next-gen firewalls that identify and detect unusual patterns and sometimes block it off from hitting the network. Great detection tools, very well-written policies, and impressive dashboards and reporting that you use to report to your board, your executive team. And if you're a regulated industry like a bank, of course, you send your reports to your regulators. But when you're under attack, having these tools alone may not allow you to declare an incident in a very timely manner or isolate the attack based on the systems, restore critical services within the acceptable time limits, and to communicate with your regulators and customers effectively. And this is where cyber resilience comes in, as it links your risk response, business continuity, and incident response plans, and once fully tested, will prepare you for these conditions. Now, allow me to drive this a little further, and let me give you an actual situation that occurred with a company. To protect the innocent, let's call this company A, okay? So company A detected a credential compromised late at night, and that means users have what you call your passwords and it has your username. And in some cases, you may have what is called multi-factor authentication to allow you to have access into systems. In this case, the monitoring team had identified that based on the pattern, they believe the user credentials may have been compromised, meaning a threat actor was using a user credentials. So the security team identified the threat, but could not isolate the system in a timely manner because the executive who has the authority to give them approval to do so could not be contacted. Now, finally, they did reach the executive, but the window of exposure had increased. And having increased, it resulted in a more extensive disruption in the operations. Now, the failure here wasn't cybersecurity. In fact, the tools work. The security team identified the pattern, but it was on the cyber resilience processes, specifically the escalation or approval process, that did not factor the possibility of being able to contact the primary approver in time, but equally important, it did not have an alternate. And this is just an example of where cyber resilience plays a key part in terms of your business resilience. So, as leaders, what should we be asking our CRO or CISO or IT security teams as it relates to our organization's cyber resilience? Now, this is an interesting question, but I want to tackle this from a different angle. Okay, and I want to tackle this from the point of questions as business leaders we should not be asking. And stay with me with this. The first one is, are we secure or fully protected? I can tell you as a service provider, we get this question quite a lot. And we always tell our clients, you are more protected and definitely much more prepared. Do we have the right tools? Or are we compliant? Now, you see, these questions speak from a minimal position or a technology-dependent perspective. And we believe as business leaders in our organizations, our conversation and information should be much more business context. So these are some suggested questions you need to ask your team. If something happened now, how quickly can we restore our most critical services? Are we prepared for a successful data breach, and how will we know if we are under attack? What decisions must we make to support you in the decisioning and actions to be taken under pressure? How much impact can we absorb before customers or regulators react? What is our recovery time objective, and is the period to restore our services acceptable or even practical? And I want to spend some time on the practical conversations because we have seen many actual restoration processes and actually desktop walkthrough where the recovery time objective, so in your business continuity plan, they will be called RTO, let's say it's 2 hours. And that is basically when the system goes down from the time you bring back up the services. But when you look at the logical flow of the activities that need to take place, the complexity of those activities, and the limited resources the company may have, that 2-hour window is totally not practical. It's humanly impossible. So as leaders, we need to take a very practical view and understand what is the most likely RTO we can achieve, but also understand what the business impact will be to the organization if we were to stay with that. If you need to reduce it, then you have to compress that time by either automating, adding more resources, or building more controls so you can reduce the impact. So based on what I shared, I'm sure you can appreciate these questions are very much aligned to strategy, operations, and reputation. And as business leaders, these are the areas that we need to stay focused on. So how can cyber resilience fail? And I will share some common patterns that we have seen over the years. The first one is unclear authority and escalation. And we saw this with company A. Slow communication in decision making. Sometimes, as leaders, we wait for perfect information. I can tell you, I fall into that trap many times. Just remember, when you're under attack, in chaos, perfection does not exist. Best informed does. We must accept the possibility that we or our IT security team may make the wrong decisions based on the information they have. But we must pivot quickly by learning from the mistakes and move to the next decision. Over-reliance and what I call heroes. Now, this is where you have one or two experts that carries the entire organization during any level of disruption. Now, when you're dealing with a cyber attack or you're dealing with your critical systems going down, you need a cross-functional team, and that must cover both technical and non-technical. You will need someone to manage the communication. You may need the IT team to restore your services, test your services, and bring it back up. You may also need to have a coordinator. That individual will look at those particular activities and make sure it hits the time and the expected outcomes to ensure a successful restoration of services. You cannot rely on one or two persons. Untested recoveries. Now, this is a massive pet peeve for me. Many organizations have their backups, whether it's daily, weekly, monthly, but they don't test it. They don't restore it to see if the data could come back effectively. Just remember, if you never test your backup, and in fact you're required to do so, you're really playing Russian roulette in terms of ensuring your services could come back up. Poor service prioritizations. There are some organizations that may not have their services prioritized by business impact or importance. And as business leaders, we must understand which system is critical to our organization. Just remember, if you don't have your services or systems prioritized, when you're under attack, every system becomes critical. No time-bound decisioning and milestones planning. As I mentioned before, we spoke about the RTO. For that to be completed successfully, you need to have specific activities and tasks that must be performed within a specific time with expected outcomes. So you need to have a clear plan around that. And lastly, treating cyber resilience and cybersecurity as IT-related components. And as you can see, it's not. So I want to wrap up our episode, but I want to land on some key takeaways for leaders. The first one is know the difference. And we spent some time on that. Cybersecurity prevents, resilience recovers. If you look at it from a risk management perspective, cybersecurity reduces the likelihood and cyber resilience reduces the impact. Document and communicate decision authority. Understand clearly who declares what, who isolates what service, who makes a decision to bring down, who makes a decision to bring back up those services, who makes a decision to communicate to the various stakeholders. Prioritize your top business services and understand their maximum tolerable downtime from a business impact perspective. Test your restoration capability and test your incident response plan under time and pressure and not ideal conditions. I always say the bad guys don't attack you because you're prepared. They attack you at the period they believe that you're most vulnerable. Ensure communication pathways are approved and communicated. And practice leadership scenarios, but not just from a technical perspective. As an executive, and I sit on a couple of boards, there's a question I always ask myself. What are my roles and responsibilities pre, during, and post-attack so that I can effectively support the management and technical team? And finally, and very important, treat cybersecurity and cyber resilience as key components of your business resilience strategy and not as an IT project. So there you are. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope that our time together provided you with small insights to help you lead with a bit more clarity. We look forward to you joining us for our next episode. And until then, stay curious and keep well. I'm Anthony Subero. Take care. Thank you for listening to Experiments in Leadership. If today's episode was of value to you, we kindly ask that you share with other leaders. Join us next time as we turn our business challenges into clear and practical guidance.